The movie starts with Sadie on the road with her entire life packed up in her car. She gets a call from someone named Dr. Yates, who warns Sadie against running away yet again. Sadie talks to her about how she feels now that her colleague, who was the same age as her and practically lived the same life, has passed away. Despite not knowing her all that much, Sadie feels bad about it and wishes to shut the feeling out. The girl who died was so similar to Sadie that she recounts how, except for one little houseplant in that girl's house, everything else was the same as Sadie's life. Dr. Yates suggests that maybe Sadie should get a houseplant, but Sadie knows she can't keep one alive under any conditions. Cut to the scene at the farmer's market where boy next door Cole Turner is being teased by his fellow farmers about getting dumped by his girlfriend. His neighbor Edna puts Cole in charge of her stall while she disappears for a smoke. Just then Sadie makes her way to Edna's stall looking for a houseplant that doesn't need much care. She runs into Cole and tells him that she needs a low-maintenance plant because she can't keep one alive for the life of her. When Cole figures out that Sadie would make an unreliable plant mom, he refuses to sell her the plant of her choice. The two get into an argument over this and it gets pretty heated when Cole suggests that she buy a cactus instead. Just in time, Edna returns and diffuses the situation by selling Sadie the plant of her choice. When Sadie leaves, she tells Cole about the undeniable tension between the two, and this propels Cole to run after Sadie. He asks her out in an awkward manner which at first strikes Sadie as weird, but she ends up accepting his offer. The two decide to get a coffee together and end up spending the entire day with each other. Sadie tells Cole that she is an art curator and has to travel a lot, so she's rarely ever home. Cole tells her that he's currently writing a book on farming plants, and in the meantime, he helps out his dad at the farm. While at the museum, Sadie shares the story about her mom with whom she fled her country on a raft. She was inspired by her mother's bravery at the time and decided to become like her one day. She also tells him about the tragic passing away of her colleague, and Cole feels bad for all the tragedy Sadie has been through. They spend the entire day together and then decide to grab some drinks as well. At night, after having fun at the karaoke, they have a heart-to-heart about their love lives, and Sadie tells him that she just needs someone who doesn't demand too much of her time because her work doesn't allow her to do that. Cole respects her decision and soon they end up kissing. They watch the sun come up, and when Cole finally drops her home, the two get intimate. When Cole returns, his entire family is aware of the fact that he just spent the night with a lady. Cole is head over heels in love with Sadie already, and his romance enthusiast parents support his feelings. But it's Cole's sister Maddie who warns him against getting too needy and clingy. That was the reason why his ex broke up with him in the first place. But Cole doesn't think a few texts and emojis mean that he's being obsessive. When Maddie sees that Cole even took a picture of Sadie and him while she was sleeping, she knows her brother is beyond saving. Cole spends the rest of the day waiting for Sadie to respond to his texts. But each time his phone chimes, Cole is only disappointed. Maddie suggests that Cole has been ghosted by Sadie, but he is convinced that what he shared with her that day was real and meaningful. Suddenly, Cole remembers that he left his inhaler in Sadie's bag and it has an AirTag on it like most of his stuff does. He looks up the inhaler's location and finds that Sadie is in London. To fulfill his romantic fantasies and make a big romantic gesture, Cole, who has never left the country and has always been a big homebody, decides to take a trip to London to surprise the girl he has only ever met one time. Despite his sister's protests, Cole hops on the plane and arrives in London. He also brings a cactus with him as an inside joke between the two. Cole tracks Sadie's location but is disappointed when he isn't able to find him. Suddenly, the streets get deserted and Cole is surrounded by men who look like thugs. Before he knows what's coming, the men and Cole faints. When he wakes up, Cole finds himself confined in a room with armed men all around him. One man approaches him and addresses Cole as the taxman. They need some passcode from the taxman, who they believe is Cole, and threaten to torture the truth out of him. Cole panics and even tries to tell them that he isn't the man they're looking for, but the men seem convinced that he is. Just as the man is about to release a deadly hornet to expel the truth out of him, all the kidnappers in the room are shot dead. Cole finally comes face to face with Sadie, who turns out to be armed with a gun. She doesn't seem too pleased to see Cole there. It turns out that Sadie is a CIA agent on a secret mission, and Cole's involvement just put a big roadblock in her path. She finds out that the bad guys after her now think that the taxman is Cole, and this creates so many problems for her. Sadie manages to save Cole, who along with his suitcase escapes the tunnels after fighting off the bad guys. They walk out of the tunnels and arrive in Khyber Pass, Pakistan. Cole is still very confused about everything that has happened, but he doesn't get a chance to demand an explanation because the bad guys are still chasing them. Just as they're about to leave in the jeep Sadie has waiting outside, the bad guys attack them and they run for their lives. The poor suitcase does not survive the battle. Sadie manages to fight them off until she commandeers a local bus. With Cole in tow, Sadie fights off the bad guys who keep coming at her. Cole's survival instincts kick in and he manages to fend off the bad guys by using some of his old high school wrestling techniques. Sadie's super cool driving skills and her epic fighting abilities manage to save the two. Not to mention, Cole ends up killing one bad guy after beating him up with the cactus he brought for Sadie as a joke. The bus finally breaks down and the two go the rest of the way on foot. The story cuts to a man in a suit inside some shady caves. His name is Levek and he is the main man behind this ruckus. He orders his subordinates to find the taxman, who they now think is Cole, and whoever finds him first will get $1 million. When they're finally not running for their lives, Cole screams at Sadie for being a liar. Sadie screams at him for being a stalker. Cole tells her he was making a romantic gesture, but Sadie can't be bothered by romance at the moment. The two of them get into another argument, and after getting fed up with him, Sadie orders him to do as she says if he still wants to make it home. She brings him to the city where she meets up with her contact and old friend, Marco. Marco does not shy away from expressing his fondness for Sadie, and Cole finds out that once upon a time, these two were a thing. But when duty called, Sadie left Marco for the dead and ran away. Marco even lost a hand in that battle. While this seems to baffle Cole and his impression of Sadie continues to deteriorate, Marco doesn't seem to have held a grudge. In their line of work, it's always mission over man. Meanwhile, Cole also finds out the real reason why Sadie was in those caves, and it was not to save him, but to find Aztec, a biochemical weapon that Levek is also after. The Aztec is sealed inside a suitcase which requires a passcode to open. Sadie requests Marco to arrange for Cole to get home safely, and then bids him goodbye, hoping to never see him again. Cole has no qualms about it and gladly lets her walk away. Just as Marco is leading Cole to safety, he gets shot dead by a man who has Sadie at gunpoint. The man turns out to be a hitman sent by Levek to bring the taxman to him. The man calls himself the grandson of Sam, but before he can do anything else, he's taken out by another hitman called the Leopard. But soon the Leopard is taken out by the Lion, who is also a hitman. The Lion puts a shock-inducing device on Sadie and Cole, lest they try anything funny. But what's funny is that the Lion is eventually eliminated by the grandson of Sam. Taking advantage of the moment, Sadie fights him and asks him where she can find Levek. While on their way to the delivery spot, Sadie learns from Cole that while he was kidnapped, the men kept asking him for a passcode. Sadie realizes that even Levek can't use the Aztec because he doesn't have the passcode. He thinks the taxman has it, but Sadie confirms, being the taxman herself, that even she does not have the passcode. She then tells Cole that her colleague who died had managed to encrypt the passcode, but Sadie had to kill her because she was a traitor who was working with the enemy. She reveals that she does not have the passcode, but since Levek already thinks that the taxman does, Sadie tries to use that to her advantage and knocks Cole out. When Cole finally wakes up, he finds himself tied and taped in the trunk of the car. Sadie presents herself as a bounty hunter and offers Cole, aka the presumed taxman, to Levek. When Levek sees Cole, he goes on to tell him about how he also used to be a CIA agent at one point. That is, until he was bleeding out in a ditch in the middle of nowhere after fighting their battles, and the CIA left him for dead. He warns the taxman that the same will happen to him and that he will waste his life working for a country that doesn't care about him. When he tries to get the passcode from him, Sadie intervenes and refuses to hand over the taxman without getting paid cash up front. Levek asks his subordinates to take the two and get the taxman to fess up. After that, he is to kill the girl and bring him the Aztec. He hands over the briefcase to the man and they board the plane. While on board, Cole remains angry at Sadie for using him as bait. Meanwhile, when Levek's men go through Cole's belongings, they find a picture of Cole and Sadie in bed and figure out that something's amiss. They confront Sadie about it and she confesses to being the taxman. The man demands the passcode from her, keeping Cole at gunpoint, and Sadie reluctantly hands over a small container to the man. When he takes out the contents, it turns out to be the electric shock inducer chip. Sadie springs into action as she electrocutes the man and then fights off his subordinates. During the fight, Sadie gets injured, and while Cole holds up his own, she knows she has to send him to safety. She tells him to use the parachute and leave before the men wake up. Cole is reluctant about leaving her, but he does as asked. Before leaving, he makes sure to grab both Sadie and the case with Aztec. Cole jumps out of the plane. 6 hours later, they're at Socotra Island in the Arabian Sea. Sadie wakes up and finds her wound being taken care of. Cole stitched her up with the help of wild medicinal plants. Sadie is also relieved to see that the Aztec is safely secured. She thanks Cole, feeling grateful toward him for the first time. She also sends a signal to her headquarters about her whereabouts. When Levek finds out that they have lost the taxman once again, he warns his subordinate, named Wagner, to find the man at any cost because if he doesn't, he will be facing the end of Levek's gun. As the night falls, Cole and Sadie talk about why Cole never left the country when he is passionate about studying all sorts of plants. Cole gives Sadie the same excuse about his dad getting sick and him having to take care of the business, but Sadie knows the real reason is something else. Cole finds out about Sadie's mom, who is no longer alive, and he feels bad for her. Seeing that her job as an agent requires a lot from her, Cole can see how lonely Sadie seems. The two come to a truce and end up kissing again. After doing the devil's tango once more, Sadie and Cole spend a peaceful night together. But as the morning comes, so do Levek's men. They start firing at the two and Sadie asks Cole to run. While he runs towards the forest, Sadie aims to secure the Aztec, but Wagner gets to it first. At the same time, the US Marines arrive at the scene to rescue Sadie. Sadie contemplates saving the Aztec or Cole. Eventually, her heart wins. She manages to save Cole and the Wagner takes the Aztec with him. Back at the CIA headquarters, Sadie and Cole are both made to take a polygraph test. An agent named Jackson heads the investigation. The CIA wants to know who exactly Cole is and how he managed to get involved in this thing. When she gets berated by her superior about how she chose the life of a civilian over that of thousands and let Aztec get out of her hands, Sadie tells him that she made a judgment error, and her emotions got the best of her. She accepts her mistake. But this deeply offends Cole. To think that after everything they went through, Sadie still thinks of him as a mistake upsets him. He blasts off on Sadie and tells her that she should date someone just like Marco who won't mind coming second to her job. Sadie counters this by telling him that Cole is just too scared to do anything in his life. She thinks he's been using his dad's health as an excuse to stay where he is. Cole tells her Sadie is the one who is scared of having emotions and a real connection to someone because she might lose them like she lost her mother. She yells at him to stop when he goes overboard and the two end up in another fight. Meanwhile, Sadie gets suspended because her bosses think she might be working from a different angle. She let a known suspect take Aztec from right under her nose, and this is grounds for serious investigation. Cole, on the other hand, gets pressurized by the CIA to confess Sadie's ulterior motives. He tells them clearly that Sadie is not a traitor as they think. Jackson shows Cole the pictures of Sadie's victim to persuade him to stop protecting her. But something else catches Cole's eye instead. In the picture of the deceased agent, Cole finds the crop, amaranth, that was often used in rituals by the Aztecs. This information gives the CIA a solid lead on the passcode. They decide to use Cole as bait and send him to Levesque as the taxman to retrieve the Aztec under the pretense that the taxman has gone rogue. Sadie doesn't want Cole to do this because it would be too dangerous for him, but when Jackson tells him that neither he nor his family will be safe until Levesque is out of the picture, he will always keep looking for the taxman who he believes is Cole. Out of concern for his loved ones, Cole decides to go forward with the mission, but Sadie tries to tell him that the CIA is just using him. Cole says that he could say the same thing about her. Sadie takes her stuff and storms out of there. The CIA makes it seem to Levesque that the taxman has gone rogue and will give Levesque the passcode in exchange for a payout. Levesque thinks this is a trap, but he agrees to a meeting anyway. In the meantime, Mr. Utami, who hired Levesque to get him the Aztec, visits him and asks him about the delivery which he needs urgently. Levesque informs him that they will soon be meeting the taxman, and Mr. Utami tells him that he wants to present for that meeting as well. Cole goes to meet Levesque as taxman. Meanwhile, the CIA agents are stationed outside for the mission. While he waits for Levesque to arrive, the CIA agents are killed by Levesque's men, and Jackson, with his dying breath, tells Cole to get out of there. But before Cole can leave, Levesque arrives with Mr. Utami. He cuts to the chase and asks him to open up the case. Not knowing what else to do, Cole stalls for time and tells Levesque that he wants to be paid first. He pretends to be a traitor to the CIA and tells him that he plans to walk out of the building a rich man. Levesque doesn't believe him but humors him by asking what changed his mind. Cole tells him that what Levesque said to him the other day made him realize that the CIA doesn't care about their own. Mr. Utami gets impatient and Levesque urges Cole to give him the passcode. Cole is in a tight spot and doesn't know what to do when suddenly, much to his relief, Sadie shows up. She sits with the men and tells them that she is the taxman and Cole is her boyfriend. Hearing her say that makes Cole a very happy man, all things considered. Sadie negotiates with Mr. Utami, asking him to wire $10 million to her account and she will deliver the passcode to him. The deal passes through and Sadie opens the case with Aztec inside it. She also receives $10 million in her account right away. Now that that's done, Levesque tries to kill Sadie, but she surprises him by telling him that he's currently surrounded by a bunch of bounty hunters and she just put a $10 million bounty on him. It doesn't take long before chaos ensues. The civilians rush out and only the hitmen and the bad guys remain. Sadie cleverly manages to grab the Aztec before anyone else and the shootout begins. Sadie and Cole work together to fight off the bad guys and manage to do so until Cole is attacked by Wagner. The two end up fighting one-on-one in the control room where there are a whole lot of machines and buttons. While they're fighting, they end up turning on some machines which messes with the mechanism of the restaurant, and the room where Sadie is fighting off the bad guys all by herself starts to rotate. Utami hides behind the bar with Levesque and asks him to get him out of there, but Levesque shoots him instead. Then we see that after a close fight, Cole manages to get rid of Wagner brutally, and runs to help Sadie, whom he finds in a fight with Levesque. Levesque is about to end Sadie but Cole gets there on time and saves her. However, Levesque still manages to get the upper hand and gets away from them, getting his hand on Aztec. Just when he thinks he has won, Sadie shoots at the ceiling which crashes down on Levesque, sending him down the broken glass. Sadie manages to save the Aztec just in time and it all comes to an end. Cole kisses Sadie and compliments the black dress she is wearing. Sadie laughs and the two are happy to have made it through. Next, we see Sadie and Cole having brunch with Cole's family where they tweak the details of their great European adventure. Though the gist remains that they too found love with each other in Cole's leap of faith, the grand romantic gesture was worth it. In the end, we see that it's been 3 months since Cole and Sadie have been dating. Cole is pursuing his passion for writing a book, while Sadie is still an agent at the CIA. They too manage their relationship along with their work lives, as is seen by Cole's indifference to the man Sadie has in the trunk of her car. The two continue to the museum to have a normal date, and the movie comes to an end.